Hello everyone, and welcome to part 5 of Communication Skills Training Lecture. Today we are going to talk about loneliness, depression, death, and dying. Some of the topics covered today are loneliness, depression, death and dying, and skills. Loneliness can be very complicated and does not necessarily mean the person is actually alone. Talking to a lonely person, remember to avoid problem solving and provide them with a space in which they can talk freely without being judged. Many people confuse depression and sadness. While they're often both related to each other, they do not mean the same thing. Depression is considered a mental health condition in which a person feels sad, hopeless, and unimportant. Depression can be viewed by a change in the person's behavior. Often a person who is depressed will become isolated and no longer be interested in doing things that made them happy. A person with depression will most likely experience changes in their eating and sleeping habits. Here are some statistics on depression. Depression is one of the most common mental health disorders. Over 350 million people are living with depression. Women are more likely to experience depression than men. Depression can often lead to suicidal ideations. Depression is likely to co-occur with other conditions. There are many different causes of depression, some of which we don't fully understand yet. Some of the more common types of depression include the following: major depressive disorder, persistent depressive disorder, postpartum depression, seasonal affective disorder, and bipolar disorder. Death is one of the scariest things a person can deal with. People have different views on death and dying, so it is important to make sure you understand the situation fully before you assume anything. A lot of people who are dealing with death and dying are going to be sad and dealing with grief. Some might be more confused about how they feel or might even be happy. It is important to not come off as judgmental and to allow the person to express their feelings, even if it contradicts your own beliefs. If a person found out that they're dying, it is important for you to explore with them what that means, if they're comfortable with that. Make sure that you ask a lot of big picture questions and help the person identify their feelings. Again, if that is something that they invite you to do. Normalization and validation, which we have discussed in previous lectures, are both really great tools to use in these kinds of conversations. Make sure you are careful with the person when it comes to self-disclosure, as your experience might be different if you have gone through or are going through something similar. Here are some of the ways you can help when interacting with a person who is dealing with either loneliness, depression, death, or dying. A great skill to have is the ability to listen to them. Ask questions to get more information instead of assuming you understand what they mean. Validate their feelings. You might say, "That sounds really difficult. I'm sorry to hear that." Show empathy and interest with your body language. If they ask, you can help them find support by referring them to Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, which is a national helpline. It is a confidential helpline free of charge that is available in English and Spanish for individuals and family members facing mental and/or substance use disorders. You can learn about depression on your own, and these articles that are attached to the slide are a good starting point to gain a better understanding of what depression is. Here are some of the things that you should not do when talking to someone who is experiencing loneliness, depression, death, or dying. Do not minimize or compare their experience. If a person talks about their depression, you might want to say things like, "I understand," or "We've all been there." But if you have never actually dealt with depression yourself, this can minimize their feelings. Comparing what they're going through to someone else's troubles or saying things like, "But things could be so much worse," generally does not help. Don't take things personally. Try not to let it get to you if they seem to strike at you in anger or frustration. Their depression isn't your fault, just that it is not their fault. Don't try to fix them. It can be hard to understand exactly what depression feels like if you've never experienced it. But it isn't something that can be cured with a well-intentioned phrase like, "You should be grateful for the things in your life," or "Just stop thinking about sad things." So these are the things that you should not say. Please follow this link to take the quiz for this lecture, and thank you for watching.